Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Ivory, and you are tuned in to the Embracing Neurodiversity podcast, where I share my personal journey of embracing and enhancing the experience of my amazing son who is on the spectrum. Through this journey, I've discovered a lot about myself and continue to grow every day. My goal is to provide you with some useful insights and stories that will inspire you in your own parenting journey. Thank you for tuning in. I want to talk a little bit about an experience I had over the weekend and how nerve-wracking it was for me. So, I'm an autism mom, and it's really important for me that my son is not only has a healthy sense of identity and confidence within himself, but that he is acclimated to the society around him, mainstream society in the world that doesn't always accommodate people like him. And so at this age, I'm constantly taking him to places and spaces where he can learn how to adjust and regulate so that in the future it's easier for him, right? And so an example of that is oftentimes when you are raising a child who's on the spectrum and you take them into public spaces with large crowds, you may notice, and this is not for every child, but for some children, they get overwhelmed by loud noises or lots of people and they shut down or they have meltdowns and it's a thing. My son is not necessarily someone who is sensitive to noises or large crowds, but at this age, he has not yet figured out the social norms around what you can and can't do as it relates to personal space or touching people's items or having access to things that don't belong to him. And so I took him to a festival over the weekend here in the city that I live in. It was an arts festival. I'm really big into art, particularly Black art. And I wanted to expose my child to that too, because side note, the other thing that's important to me, regardless if my child was on the spectrum or not, I knew before I even had a child that I was going to expose them to things that reflect who they are and their identities. As a Black male child, I wanted him to see art that was reflective of who he is because I fundamentally believe that aids in the child's ability to have healthy sense of themselves. You see a trend here, right? I took him to this festival over the weekend and we were walking around to the different vendors to look at art and continually along the way, Khalil kept trying to grab the artist items and he even took a paintbrush at one point and tried to paint over someone's art and I was mortified. Like I don't really have words for the level of anxiety and stress I had, and I had to continue to redirect Khalil often. It's even with when it comes to his social skills, like he is someone that if someone speaks to him, he'll say hi maybe 50% of the time, but then when he's ready to go, he's like, "Bye, bye." And even I run into people that I saw and I wanted to stop and have small talk, he's, "Bye, bye, bye," and being disruptive, and so I'm having to manage that, and now that he's getting older, his autism is more evident because he is older and he doesn't necessarily look like a baby. When he was 3, 4, even 5, he can get away with it, but now that he's 6, almost 7, and he's getting a little bit more mature, it's becoming more obvious, and so I'm noticing now when I'm out, people ask, "Does he have autism?" And, of course, I say yes because one of the things that I'm clear about, and this is a parent hack, that if I don't embrace it and own it confidently, Khalil won't either. I'm real clear just about owning it and just because I do that doesn't mean that it's easy, and I have to make a conscious choice every day, and I definitely have to make a conscious choice when we decide to go out and do community-oriented things, that there will be moments of awkwardness or social uncomfortability, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how to navigate that, and it is difficult for us as parents when our children haven't yet figured out how to engage with people in a way where it's not abrasive or confusing for others. And I probably should just say my child because I know that every child's and parent experience is different. But I say all that to say, and I want to share that experience to say that if you are a neurotypical person or you are a parent of neurotypical children, and you see a parent who has a child on the spectrum out and about, and maybe their child is having a meltdown or is socially awkward or just creating a little bit of awkwardness, to please extend grace to that parent and to be kind and to be patient and to be warm towards them because we are really truly doing our best and we want our child to have similar experience as any other child. They deserve it. And I'm going to continue to put my child in spaces where he is exposed to beautiful experiences and has memories because he is deserving of that. But with that comes a lot of stress and anxiety around how my child is going to behave in this space, but more than anything, how people are going to perceive and treat him. And so I want to first encourage parents who have children on the autism spectrum to still take your child to events and spaces that work for them. Keep in mind, if you know that they have triggers that will cause a meltdown, like large crowds or loud noises or whatever the case may be, then you want to be mindful of that and maybe be mindful of where you place them. But in most cases, if there are cases and scenarios in which your child can coexist with others in majority of society, then don't hesitate to bring your child along and hold your head up high with pride because there is nothing to be ashamed of. And again, I understand that it's not an easy process, but one of the things that I try to root myself in is that shame is a learned behavior that has actually been imposed upon us by other people. And so, what I try to do every step of the way is to be reminded that we all got stuff going on in our lives. And so, what you're not going to do is make me feel ashamed or bad about the difficulties that I experience in my life because your difficulties are not visible right now. And so I'm very determined to continue to forge forward, believing that ultimately some of these socially awkward and overwhelming moments will eventually dissipate over time. But in the meantime, I want to acknowledge to all the parents out there that are raising children on the spectrum that I completely understand and empathize. It is difficult, and then I want to encourage the parents out there who have neurotypical children or any neurotypical person to please extend a level of grace and patience. And I'll say this, and it makes me want to cry to talk about it, that on the instances that my son was doing the most, the people that I was engaging with were very graceful, were very encouraging. And so I do fundamentally believe that majority of society are cognizant of what it means to be a parent of a child who has autism and what being a person on the autism spectrum, especially as a child, looks like in public spaces. Even when I'm out and I don't have my child and I'm in the grocery store or whatever, I've run across one or two parent and their child who's on the autism spectrum. And obviously, because I'm an autism mom, my heart just warms because I get it. But I also hope that my energy transfers to them to let them know that they have nothing to be ashamed of and that they are embraced. I am truly grateful that you all are constantly choosing to click the listen button and tune in. I hope this is helpful to whoever chooses to listen in. And if it is not directly helpful to you, if you know someone that it can be helpful for, please share it with them. My intention is to make parents of children on the autism spectrum, children who are neurodiverse, feel seen and heard. And my intention is to create spaces where my child and other children like him will be able to thrive one day. And so this is one way of my doing that. I also have a bunch of resources. I'll put the link below. And I am always offering coaching for parents. My coaching platform, Transformative Parenting, is specifically for parents to help them to talk through their difficulties, unpack some of their deeply rooted mindsets in a safe space with someone who understands, and not just from an autism mom space, which I'm rooted in that and I understand it from that space, but also from a space of a equity and inclusive practitioner as an educator, right? And I'm not just talking about this from a place of guessing or even passion, even though I'm passionate about it. I'm talking from a place of experience and lived experience and professional experience. With that being said, I am going to stop here. Thank you as always. And until next week, take care of yourself.